Hello, I'm Govinda Gill with the BBC News. Israel's campaign of airstrikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon appears to be widening, with attacks in the capital, the east and the south. Beirut's endured a night of heavy strikes close to the airport and in the southern suburbs. Reports citing Israeli officials suggest those targeted were Hashim Saifuddin, the expected successor to the assassinated Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah. Lina Sinjab is at the airport.
This is the mainly airport that's getting people out, has international flights, mainly operated by the national airline, because all of the other international carriers have cancelled their operations to Lebanon. And there are still thousands of people who are wanting to leave, wanting to reach Europe or different parts of the world. And that's the only place that they can get evacuated or leave from.
The Lebanese transport minister said an Israeli airstrike hit a road near the border crossing with Syria, used by hundreds of thousands of refugees fleeing the country. Iran's supreme leader is expected to personally lead Friday prayers in Tehran for the first time in more than 4 years. More from Caroline Hawley.
Ayatollah Ali Khamenei holds ultimate power in Iran and very rarely leads Friday prayers himself. So this is a sign of the gravity of the moment for the regime. It's still reeling from the loss of its allies, Hassan Nasrallah and the Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated in Tehran in July. And it's bracing itself for Israel's response to its missile strike, threatening to attack again when that comes. So all eyes are now on the supreme leader. The words and tone of his sermon will be carefully watched for what they signal about where this dangerous crisis might go next.
The European Union will vote on Friday on whether to impose heavy tariffs on electrical vehicles made in China. They're aiming to protect the European car industry from being undermined by Chinese state subsidies. Katie Silver reports.
The European Commission is proposing tariffs of up to 45% on Chinese-made electric vehicles for the next 5 years. It's the bloc's highest-profile trade case and risks retaliation from Beijing, who has condemned the tariffs as protectionist. The move has also divided EU member states. Germany, whose car manufacturing industry is heavily dependent on exports to China, is wary of provoking a trade war with Beijing. It's indicated it might abstain from the vote. France, Italy and Poland are expected to back the new measures, which can only be blocked if 15 states vote against them.
Japan's new Prime Minister, Shigeru Ishiba, has said his government will aim to increase the average minimum wage by 40%. Japan had until recently seen decades of stagnant wages, but even with pay rising again, it hasn't kept up with inflation. BBC News. President Biden has congratulated the dock workers' union and employers for reaching a tentative deal to end a crippling 3-day strike. Dock workers' pay will increase by more than 60% over the next 10 years. Michelle Fleury is in New York.
Tens of thousands of dock workers along the East and Gulf coasts are going to return to the job at least until January 15th. And the idea here is to try and give both sides time to return to the negotiating table and kind of work on some of those lingering issues. We know that there was questions about whether or not there would be any improvement on retirement benefits that were offered, on healthcare, but perhaps the biggest issue of all was automation. And when I was at the picket line earlier this week at the Port of Newark, one of the busiest on the East Coast, there was a lot of anger and concern that essentially that advanced technology would replace them and their jobs.
A human rights group has accused an armed gang in Haiti of attacking a small central town, killing 20 people, including children, and burning homes and vehicles. The Commission for Dialogue, Reconciliation and Awareness said thousands of residents were forced to leave Ponson and seek refuge as the Grand Grif gang went on the rampage. The authorities in central Mexico say 12 people have been killed in 5 separate incidents in the town of Salamanca in Guanajuato state. The murders came just days after 4 others were shot dead in what police say is an escalation of violence between rival drug cartels. Prosecutors say the bodies showed signs of torture. The World Health Organization has approved the first emergency diagnostic test for Mpox, which it's hoped will help stop the spread of the deadly virus. The PCR test enables detection of the virus from human skin lesions. The WHO said limited testing capability had contributed to the spread of Mpox. BBC News.